A good, a good morning to everybody. I welcome you all for this Sunday's meeting of our heritage group. And today we have a very special meeting. The last few months we have been talking about the temples of Kanchipuram. A lot of temples we saw in detail about the Kailasnatha temple and other things. But Kanchipuram is a very famous place for the 2 or 3 temples that are located there. One is that of the Devi Kamakshi, the other one is Ekambareswa, and the third one is Varadarajaswamy. The 3 temples are most important temples that are visited by thousands and thousands of pilgrims every day. So I thought it would be better to have a small break away from our architectural subject and today deal with these temples of Devi Kamakshi and Ekambareswa. With this note, I welcome you all for this presentation today. Before we start with the prayer to Devi Kamakshi. Raka Chandra Samana Kanti Vadana Nagadi Muka na bhavi kurvati suranithi Shri Kashu Vakvai Bhavam Shri Kanchi Nagara Vigara Rashika Soka Bahantri Sudham Eka Punya Parampara Pashupate Akarini Rajite. Devi worship has been an integral part in our Hindu traditions from time immemorial. Right from the early civilizations of Indus Valley, Harappa, everywhere, you find the Devi cult being predominantly seen there in this region of our Bharatavarsha. The Divine Mother today, in this Kali Yuga, she is worshipped as Meenakshi, Kamakshi, and Visalakshi. Kamakshi is the presiding deity of Kanchipuram. Meenakshi is the presiding deity of Madurai. And Visalakshi is the presiding deity of Kashi. So all these 3 divine mothers are worshipped. And one thing that you can see similar, very, very common, this is the Meenakshi and that is Visalakshi. One thing that you see with the divine mothers, all their names end with the Akshi, word Akshi, which means, Akshi means eyes. They are the ones who are protecting the subjects through their eyes, that is Karunya. The eyes of Devi is always filled with Karunya, and these 3 important deities are named as Kamakshi, Meenakshi, and Visalakshi. So they are the ones who protect us with their Karunya or Kataksham through their eyes. Today, let us explore in detail about Devi Kamakshi and her abode in Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram is one of the Mokshapuris. We have 7 Mokshapuris as stated in our scriptures. Ayodhya, Maya, Mathura, Kashi, Kanchi, Avantika. So in this, Kanchipuram is the only place which is located in South India. The others are spread throughout the country. Ayodhya, Maya is Haridwar. Maya, Mathura, the birthplace of Krishna. Ayodhya, Maya, Mathura, Kashi, the great place of Vishwanath. Kanchi, Avantika is Ujjain. So like this, all these places are spread throughout. And Kanchi is one of the Mokshapuris, the only Mokshapuri in South India. Kanchi is a great Shakti Peetam, and this is known as the Udyana Peetam in our Puranas. Udyana is the hip region, the abharanam that you wear in your hip region is known as Udyanam. So the Udyana Peetham of the world is here in Kanchi. Kanchi is the main center for the three folds of Hinduism, be it Shaivism, Vaishnavism, or Shaktam. All the three flourished in Kanchi at a great level. Kanchi was a great learning center. People from all over the world used to come here to study about the religion in all the big katigas, that is the universities that had existed in Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram is not only a place for these three sects of Hinduism, but also it was a learning center for Buddhism and Jainism in those days. Kanchi has got more than 108 Shiva temples all over the Kanchipuram. In the periphery of Kanchipuram, everywhere you go, every street you have a Shiva temple there. And it has got 14 Divya Desams of Perumal, which were being sung by the great Alvars. 14 such Divya Desams clustered into one place of Kanchipuram. The Temple of Kamakshi is the only temple dedicated to Shakti, the mother goddess. She is the center of Kanchipuram. She is the only mother goddess seen in this temple city of Kanchipuram. And she is located in the temple right in the center of the city. And that temple of Kanchipuram, where Devi Kamakshi is residing, is known as the Bindusthanam. So it is the center, Bindu means center. Center place of Kanchipuram is the Kamakshi Devi temple. Devi Kamakshi is defined as a supreme goddess of beauty, tranquility, and she is the incarnation of Shakti. And she is called Shive. She is known as Shive, who is also referred as the consort of Shiva. The popular slokam, we say, Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadike. Shive here means she is Devi. So she is the Shive of Shiva, and she is residing here in Kanchipuram. Kamakshi, she is very popular in Tamil country, and the same Kamakshi is worshipped as Kamakya in the eastern region of India. The name Kamakshi or Kamakya means the same, the desirable one, or literally to say, one whose eyes is full of desire. So Devi Kamakshi is a Kataksha Rupam. She gives a Kataksham to everybody. Her eyes is full of desire. The origin of Kamakshi Devi in this holy city of Kanchipuram is described in Devi Bhagavatam. And it's also associated with the legendary Purana of Parvati Kalyanam. Let us see that. When Manmatha, Shiva was, before that, I'll give you a small prelude. After the demise of Sati Devi in the Dakshayaga, Shiva goes to meditation in the Himalayas. He stays there under a banyan tree and he's there, meditating, totally engrossed by himself. Parvati Devi is born as the daughter of Himavan, and she comes to render the services to Shiva, who is there on meditation. So this is going on for a long time. But all the devas are waiting for the opportunity for Shiva and Parvati to unite together so that the Skanda is born, the Kumara Sambhavam takes place, and that would be the end of the Rakshasas, that is Surapadma or Tarakaksha and all that. So all that Rakshasas have to come to an end, and for that Parvati Kalyanam has to take place and Kumara Sambhavam has to come in place. So they employ Manmada to distract Shiva from his tapas. So that happens there in Himalayas. When Manmata shoots the arrow on Shiva. Shiva opens up his third eye, and Manmata was burnt to ashes by Shiva because he interrupted Shiva's yogic meditation. This happened at the precise moment when Shiva wanted to end his meditation. See, it all coincides like this. Manmata shooting the arrow, and Shiva already decided to open his eyes and come out of meditation. This happens spontaneously at the same moment. It is a coincidence. Parvati, when she sees the arrow being shot against Shiva, she runs and embraces Shiva. So the Parvati and Shiva unite together, and that is the result of the Parvati Kalyanam. So that precise moment when Manmata's arrow was shot, Parvati runs and hugs on to Shiva. So they get united, and that is the precise moment when the Parvati Kalyanam started. The flames, the sparks that emanated from Shiva, burnt Manmata to ashes. And this burnt ashes of Manmata looked like a small mound of ash which was lying there. What happens? One of the Shiva Ganas shapes this ash into the form of a man with legs, arms, everything, and begs Shiva to give life into his creation, what he has made. Shiva breathes life into that ash by glancing at it. So the moment Shiva glances at the ash, immediately it comes to life. And that is the birth of Bandasura. Bandasura is born out of the ashes that were burnt Manmata. The moment he was burned, he started laughing, ban, ban, ban. That laughter was so loud, it was heard all over the world, all over the universe. So that's why he was named as Bandasura. This Bandasura was taught mantras by Chitrasena, again, a celestial person, and he was performing austerities, everything. And this Bandasura became a big bhakta, and he got a boon from Shiva that no one born out of a sexual union would be able to kill him. So that was the boon this Bandasura got from Shiva. This Bandasura became all-powerful. He invaded the territory of Indra. Indra's city of Amaravati was caught by him. His army was captured, and Devas were chased out of that city. And all these Devas ran helter-skelter, and then finally they took refuge under Shiva, asking Shiva, somehow you have to help us. We are being tortured by this Bandasura. Give us a solution. Shiva then asked them to go to seek the help from Devi. The Devi says, yes, I will help you. And all these Devas run to Kanchipuram, and they hide themselves in a place called Piladwara. That's a small cliff on the rock. So they enter that Piladwara, a secret passage in Kanchi, and they hide themselves there. So that is how all the Devas come and hide themselves there. So Banda comes looking for them at Kanchipuram. So when he comes there to Kanchipuram, Indra and other Devas perform an yajna to Devi. They sacrifice themselves and form this yajna. And from that yajna rises a Sri Chakra Yantra. Seated on the Bindusthana of the Sri Chakra Yantra, the beautiful Devi Kamakshi emerges as Bala Tripura Sundari. She comes out of the Sri Chakra as a small girl, Bala Tripura Sundari, and she comes out as Devi Kamakshi later. The moment she comes out of the Piladwaram, she stamps her foot on the soil of Kanchi, which brings out a big tremor in that area. The tremor or the earthquake that happens makes Banda to roll and fall and stumble and fall in front of Devi Kamakshi. Kamakshi kills him. So Bandasura is being killed by Kamakshi coming out of the Piladwaram in Kanchi. The gods erect a temple for Devi Kamakshi in Kanchipuram and they offer pujas. And that's how Devi Kamakshi came to stay in Kanchipuram. This is the beautiful painting of the Bandasura Vadam, the Devi emerging out of Sri Chakra in the Ratha, and then she fights Bandasura with all the devatas around that. So this is a beautiful painting of how Bandasura Vadam happened. Devi Kamakshi is the supreme mother. She is the goddess. She is Shiva. She is the feminine aspect of Shiva. She is seated in a big throne, which is called as Panchapreda Manjadi Shalini. She's called as Panchapreda Manjadi Shalini, where Rudra, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha are the four pillars of the mancha or the cot. And she is on the flat of the cot, which is Sadashiva. She is seated on top of Sadashiva, which means that there is a union of Shiva and Shakti together in this. So she is the divine motheress who is known as the Shiva. She is Devi Kamakshi, who is seated on the Panchapreda Manjadi Shalini. She is known as Panchapreda Manjadi Shalini. The description of Lalita Sahasranamam, the central text of Shakti worships, says Kamakshi, she is the one who awakens the desire in you. And she is the one who has got the most beautiful eyes. It is said, Kamakshim Kamadayinim. In Lalita Sahasranamam, we always say Kamakshim Kamadayinim, the one who gives us desire, or we beg her to give us the desires to live in life. She is Devi Kamakshi. With such eyes, Kamakshi is said to be have enchanted Shiva. The eyes of Kamakshi bestows prosperity, knowledge, and good fortune. And everything is available in abundance in the divine grace of Devi Kamakshi. Her form is seen in the temples like what you see in this picture. The relationship between the Kama and Kamakshi is glorified in a beautiful iconographic representation. The symbols are associated with God of love, Kama. You see her holding the sugarcane arrow or the sugarcane bana, and she has an arrow of flowers, which is normally seen with Manmata. So she is associated herself with Manmata's Rupam and the divine grace of her beautiful eyes is seen here. She's always dressed in red color sari, adorned with golden jewels and crown studded with pearls and gems. A radiant face, the beautiful eyes and the four arms, carrying the Pasha, Ankusha, Pushpabana, and the bow of sugarcane. She carries the Pasha, Ankusha, everything, and she has the most enchanting and the most beautiful eyes. Kamakshi Devi is known for her beautiful eyes. The eyes of Kamakshi is known as Ka and Ma. Ka refers to Saraswati and Ma refers to Lakshmi. The Lakshmi and Saraswati are the two eyes of Devi Kamakshi. When you worship Kamakshi, she looks at you. Thereby, she imparts Lakshmi Kataksham as well as Saraswati Kataksham, the Vidya and the wealth to you. So she is got Lakshmi and Saraswati as her eyes. So he is Devi Kamakshi. Ka also represents Kanchipuram. In this temple, goddess Kamakshi is seated in a meditative yogic pose, seated in Padmasana. She has the crescent moon on a crown, denoting that she is Shiva. She is not only Shiva, she herself is Shiva. So she is Shiva and Shiva together. And that is the divinity of the great Devi Kamakshi. She is seated on the Sri Chakra that is considered to be the representation of Sri Vidya or the Brahma Vidya or the highest form of knowledge. So she is the Vidya Parameshwari, Sri Vidya Parameshwari. She is also known as Lalitambika, Tripura Sundari, and her main abode is the temple of Kanchipuram, where she is seen today. Kanchi is said to be the most powerful Pita of Devi, known as Udhyana Pita, the navel region of this world. From where the navel region is the place from which all the nadis emerge and spread throughout the rest of the body. We have the nadis in the body, which are invisible channels. These are invisible, non-atomic channels through which the prana shakti in our body moves throughout the body. This prana shakti is one which is required for awakening our kundalini shakti and attain the greatest level of what you call the knowledge. Once this Devi Kamakshi was in state of very ugra form on account of this temple being taken over by the Kapalikas and their tantric worship. The Kapalikas are a sect of Saivite people who believed in Shiva as Bhairava and Devi as Bhairavi. They worship Shiva and Shakti as Bhairava and Bhairavi. So these Kapalikas were that people who were always holding a skull, human skull in their hand. Any food or anything offered to them, they used to eat it through the skull and accept it through the skull only. And these people were so very violent in their aspects that they offered balis, including Narabalis, as a part of their worship. And the worship was all in Vamacharam, or more tantric in aspects. So these Kapalikas took over the temple of Kamakshi and started worshipping Kamakshi Devi as Bhairavi, offering so much of balis every day, day in and day out, they were doing it. Wherein which that turned the Devi Kamakshi as a Ugra Rupini. The Shanta, the Karunya aspect of Kamakshi was totally disappeared, had totally disappeared, and she became a Ugra Swarupini. When all these things happens, see, whenever we offer a puja in a sattvic way, the God also accepts it in such a beautiful way. When you do this stuff of a puja with Narabali, everything, the atmosphere, the energy around that totally changes. And Kamakshi Devi became an Ugra Rupini. And as a result of this, every day Devi Kamakshi used to come out of the temple in the nights. Whenever she saw somebody on the streets or sleeping in their houses or anything, she would do the samaram of that. So that was the nature of things which are going on in Kanchipuram. Kanchi Devi became so very Ugra Rupam, and they were unable to, and people were scared to go near the Kamakshi temple, and all the streets around the Kamakshi temple were vacated. And that became a big boon to the Kapalikas, who continued to have their wonderful way of Kapalika worship. Adi Shankaracharya, when he came to Kanchipuram, he came to know about the state of Devi Kamakshi's temple and the state of pujas that is going on there. Then Shankara enters the temple, and in spite of everybody saying, do not enter, Shankara goes there, meets the Kapalikas, wins them over the Tarka, and he enters the temple of Kamakshi, and he prays to her to shed her anger and accept the Shanta Swarupam. He prays to her, requests her to be seated. He makes a lot of modifications in the temple and brings out the anger of the Devi Kamakshi in that sanctum of the Kamakshi temple at Kanchipuram. Instead of she facing the east, which was normally there in all the temples, he asked her to face south and sit there. And he requested her to sit in a Peetham. And then he draws a Sri Chakra Yantra in front of her and brought down all the anger and all the other aspects of Devi Kamakshi into that Sri Chakra. All the energies of that Devi were focused inside the Sri Chakra. And this Sri Chakra, he created in such a way that it was always guarded by Ashta Devatas. So 8 Devatas Murtis were prescribed around the Sri Chakra, and she was brought inside all the energies of Devi Kamakshi was brought inside the Sri Chakra, and she was asked to sit behind the Sri Chakra. So the Ugra Rupam of Kamakshi was brought down. Even if she wants to try to get that back, she cannot do that and cannot cross that yantra and come out. So that way, he changed the direction of Kamakshi sanctum, which was facing east, and brought it out to south, and she is made to sit south facing. He made her sit on the lotus flower on top of a Sri Chakra with Chaturbhuja, and making her sit on the Sri Chakra, she was made as Sri Vidya Parameshwari. And then he initiated the Vedika Sampradaya Puja, and entire Devi Kamakshi's, all the other qualities were totally taken away, and she was made as the Shanta Swarupini and the Devi who bestows Kataksham as we see her today in the temple of Kanchipuram. Shankara altered the temple. The Garbhagriha, which was facing east, was closed, and she was made to face south. See, this is the Sri Chakra in front of her. And the Sri Chakra power of Kamakshi was brought inside the Sri Chakra. And you find these Ashta Devatas placed inside the Sri Chakra. And thereby they are guarding the entire Kamakshi Devi there. The anger and the Ugra qualities were transferred. And that image, which was so Ugra in Rupam, is today there in the temple of Kamakshi, and she is known as the Arupa Lakshmi there. This Arupa Lakshmi image is there facing east on the inside prakara of the Kamakshi Devi sanctum, and everybody today take the kunkuma, offer it to Arupa Lakshmi, and take it also back today. So this Arupa Lakshmi is seated there inside the sanctum of the Kamakshi, outer wall of the Kamakshi Sannidhi. Kamakshi Sannidhi is also a very important place for the Vaishnavism. There is a Perumal in one of the niches of the Kamakshi's sanctum known as Kalla Perumal. This is a Divya Desam which was sung by Tirumangaya Alvar. When Kamakshi was there, Lakshmi and Saraswati come to offer duties to her as their, a friend of Kamakshi. So Mahavishnu was very upset that Lakshmi has gone out of him. He wanted to see what Lakshmi was doing. He came in a disguise and started peeping into the activities of Lakshmi there. So he came like a Kallan. So this Mahavishnu is known as Kalla Perumal. And that Kalla Perumal, a Divya Desam, is inside the sanctum of the Kamakshi Devi. So this is a very rare thing, and many of them do not even know about it and do not even see this. Yoni Puja, or the womb worship, is the essence of Kamakshi worship. Kamakshi emerged from the Piladwaram, so which is also a representation of Yoni. She is worshipped in the form of Yoni. In Lalita Sahasranama also we say Yoni Mudram Trikandeshim. So the Yoni Mudra is one of the important things that we offer to Devi in our worship. There's a cleft in the rock where the Kamakshi Sannidhi is there. Once in a year, a red fluid emerges out of it, following the first rains in the month of June. And that is worship. That is the Piladwara inside the sanctum, which is not, we cannot see all these things. But this type of worship is very common in our Indian country. The Devi Kamakshi in Assam, she also has the same thing. Similarly, the Devi at Kodungalur also goes through the same thing. So this is a very common phenomena of worship of the Yoni, and that particular time of worship is one which represents the creation. So Devi's Yoni worship is also a part of thing which is there in the Temple of Kamakshi. Yoni Puja, if you want, you can take it both literally or metaphorically, whichever way you want. But that puja of Yoni was considered to be a very great one, which has been there from time immemorial. The world worships mother. Worship of women is seen as all cultures associated with the procreative abilities of the lady. Human life is created by women. Mother God is seen in the form of Yoni, worshipped as the god of fertility and prosperity. The worship of Devi in this form is known as Lajja Gauri. It is very common to see this Lajja Gauri images throughout the Chalukyan region. You see this Devi who's seated like this with the exposure of Yoni, which is known as Lajja Gauri. She doesn't have a face. She has a beautiful lotus as a face, which again in Lalita Sahasranamam it said, Srimat Vakpata Kudaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. The Devi's face is like Pankaja, the flower, lotus flower. So she is Devi with the lotus, who's like a lotus flower. She's the mother goddess and she is worshipped in this form. The rays of sun emerges with 24 letters of Gayatri Mantra. And that is symbolized with the 24-pillared mandapam around the Devi Sanctum of Kamakshi. The Vedas, the 4 Vedas became the walls of the sanctum, shaped in the form of a triangle. Kamakshi Devi temple alone, the Garbhagraham is in triangle shape. In any other temple, you will find the Garbhagraham either square or rectangle. Here alone, the temple's Garbhagraham is in the shape of a triangle. And that triangle is the center portion of the Navakona Chakram of Sri Chakra, where 5 inverted triangles and 5 upward triangles are there emerging. And the center portion is a triangle which is known as the center Bindusthana. And that is the Bindusthana of Chakra is where the Devi is residing. So this Kamakshi temple is designed in such a way that she, the Mula Murti inside the sanctum, is right in the Bindusthana of the temple of Sri Chakra. This is the temple of Devi Kamakshi as you see here. The beautiful 5-tiered Rajagopuram, as you enter to that, you have a beautiful temple spread about vast area. You have many mandapams and many beautiful things. The shrine of Kamakshi is totally covered in gold today. Unlike the other Vimanas which you see, which is a circular and smaller in shape, here the Vimana on top of the Kamakshi Devi shrine is also in the form of a Gopura. The Gopura type of Vimana is there on top of the sanctum. And this Vimana which you see here, the golden Vimana, is that one on top of the Adishankaracharya. Look at that beautiful golden Vimana of Devi Kamakshi and beautiful sculptures of Devi Kamakshi seen in the golden Vimana. She's seen with Lakshmi and Saraswati. Sachamarama Ramavani Savyalakshana Shevita. Lalita Sahasranamam says that. And she's seen as with Lakshmi and Saraswati. Look at that beautiful image, the Vimana of Devi Kamakshi and that of Shankara there. You have beautiful Pushkarani there, wonderful Pushkarani of Devi Kamakshi inside. And you have very ornate and beautiful mantabas also, where this is normally the yajnas and special pujas are performed here during Navratri and other occasions. A very ornate Vijayanagar period hall there, right in front of the temple. Very, very ornate one. Now we come to Bangaru Kamakshi. The picture you see here is that of Bangaru Kamakshi. This Bangaru Kamakshi was once the Utsava Murti of Devi Kamakshi in the Temple of Kanchipuram. When the Muslim invasion took place, this Devi Kamakshi was once in a year taken to the Ekambareswa temple just few days before the Pangani Uttaram, and the celestial wedding of Kamakshi Devi with the Ekambareswa was performed. But today, this image is moved to Tanjavur. How it moved to Tanjavur is what we are going to see now. During the Muslim invasion of Manikafur, all the idols of the temples were moved to safety. So this is a golden image of Devi Kamakshi. That's why she is called as Bangaru Kamakshi. So this image was moved out. She was there carried in a tottil, what you call a cloth tottil. And she was made to lie like there inside the tottil like that of a child. And the entire body was covered with neem leaves, as if the child has been struck with smallpox. So the people carried it like that. And to make it look like a child, they smeared a black paste on her face. And all these people who were invaders were scared to come near a person who was being infected with chickenpox or so. So this image was carried out of Kanchipuram, brought to Udayarpalayam for a long and stayed there in Udayarpalayam for a long time. And finally, Sharapoji Maharaja offered to build a temple for this Devi Kamakshi in Tanjavur. And that's how for the past 300 years or so, this Kamakshi Devi is now residing in Tanjavur. This is a golden image. They say it is a golden image. Absolutely, it is not a pure golden image, but the quantity of gold which is used in this image must be much, much on the higher side. And people to understand that, and they should not have any misconception of that, they apply the punugu, the civet, on top of her face, and that looks like a black stone image as such. So this is the beautiful Kamakshi Devi, Bangaru Kamakshi, as you see it in Tanjavur. This is the beautiful temple of Bangaru Kamakshi Devi in Tanjavur. And this is the entrance. Right inside the sanctum, she is there. When you go there, you can see her like this, beautifully standing on a very beautiful silver mandasana. She is Devi Kamakshi, Bangaru Kamakshi, once the presiding Devi of Kanchipuram. Now, today we have the Utsava Kamakshi, which was brought in later. She is seen as Kamakshi Rupam, whereas Bangaru Kamakshi was like Meenakshi holding a flower and a parrot in her hand. But this is a replica of Kamakshi Devi. As you see it in the sanctum, she is seen in a standing posture with Lakshmi and Saraswati as her rides. This is the Utsava Kamakshi, decked with so much wonderful jewels that she has. And she wears the Kumkumpu Mala. Look at that. She comes in the golden chariot every Friday around the temple. And the Brahmotsavam during the month of Mashi is so elaborate and so grand. Very, very grand celebration that takes place in the temple of Kamakshi, where she comes on different Vaganas. The parrot Vagana is one of the most important Vaganas in which Kamakshi comes out. And that parrot is so beautiful, very beautiful Vagana of Devi Kamakshi. The golden chariot and whatnot. Devi is full of grace inside the temple, and her grace is felt in the entire town of Kanchipuram. That is Devi Kamakshi of Kanchipuram. Now we come to the second part of the lecture, which is about Ekambareswa. Ekambareswa temple is located in the Kanchipuram and the most significant place for Saivism. And the temple is associated with the Panchabhuta Kshetras of Panchabhuta Stalas representing Prithvi, the earth aspect of Shiva. Shiva is worshipped here as Ekambareswara or Ekambarnadar, and the goddess Parvati here is known as Elavar Kudali Ammai. The presiding deity is revered from 7th century by Sayyid Tirumurais of Tevaram. The three great Nayanmars, Appar, Sambandar, and Sundaramurti Nayanar, have sung in praise of this great Ekambareswar Lingam. This is also a place where one of the 108 Divya Desas of Mahavishnu is there. Inside the Ekambareswar temple in the first Prakaram, you have the temple for Vishnu, which is a Divya Desam, and the Vishnu is known as Nilatunda Pyramid. And it's one of the most beautiful Divya Desams, and the Vishnu image is something very attractive standing under the Adishesha's hood. This is the Nilatunda Pyramid. The legend of why Ekambareswara and Kamakshi came to be in Kanchipuram is again another Puranic version or a story. The Puranic version is that when Shiva and Parvati were there in Kailas, one day in a very playful mood, Parvati closed the eyes of Shiva, which plunged the entire universe into darkness. Everything came to a standstill. And there was utter chaos for the few seconds which she closed. So for that act of what Parvati did, she was cursed by Shiva to go to Bhuloka and do tapas. So Parvati comes to Bhuloka and starts her tapas. First, she lands up at Kashi Nagara. There, she's been advised to go through the 32 dharmas that she had to observe. So one among that dharma which she had to observe was Annadanam. And there in Kashipura, she stays as Devi Annapurneshwari and does the Annadanam for everybody. Finally, from there, she comes to Kanchipuram and starts starts doing tapas here in Kanchipuram. She stands among the Panchagni, 5 different Agnis, on one leg with a single foot, the toe alone touching the ground, like a ballet dancer, with the toe touching the ground. She stands in the middle of the Panchagni with on one leg and the other leg folded and her head above. She starts doing the tapas to realize Shiva. This is how she is there, doing the tapas Kamakshi with the Panchagni around her. So when she was doing a tapas, Shiva wanted to test her, whether she is really into this. So he sends Agni to go and play his duty there. Already she is standing in Panchagni on her toe and doing this tapas. When Agni comes there, it becomes very hot, unable to bear that. So Parvati immediately closes her eyes and requests her brother Vishnu to come and help. So Vishnu comes there as Nilatunda Pyramid, carrying the rays of moon in his throat. So thereby he gives the beautiful, cool, atmosphere of a moonlit there. So Parvati continues her tapas and goes on to looking for Shiva there. Then Parvati erects a lingam out of the sand that she's there. Under a mango tree, she makes this lingam. And she starts worshipping this lingam with great devotion, to unite with Shiva. Shiva again is not satisfied. He wanted to test her again. So Shiva asks Ganga to flow as Vegavati river and destroy that lingam also. Give obstructions to that linga puja. So when that river comes as a pravaha, Parvati prays to Kali to protect her. So the Parvati is answered by Kali appearing there as Pralaya Bandhini. The Kali Devi comes there as Pralaya Bandhini and protects the Devi Kamakshi's puja to the Shivalinga. And this Pralaya Nandini, who protected Devi Kamakshi in a thing, is seen in the Temple of Ekambareswa in a separate temple, and she is seen here. What you see here is the Pralaya Bandhini Devi inside the Kamakshi in the Ekambareswa temple. Finally, when the river flows with so much of force, Parvati at some point of time feels that this river water may engulf the mud linga that she has made. So with that worry in her mind, she goes and hugs that Shivalinga. The moment she hugs the Shivalinga, her two sthanas are felt on the Shivalinga, and immediately Shiva appears there and they unite together. This is what happens there. Since the linga was made of mud, this linga came to be known as Prithvi Lingam, which was worshipped by Devi Kamakshi. And thereby, this linga becomes one among the Panchabhuta Sthalas representing Prithvi Kshetram. And this is the sanctum of Deva Ekambareswa. That center lingam which you see is a Prithvi Lingam. There is no Abhisheka or anything done to that. Behind that, you have Shiva and Parvati in the Kalyana Kolam. And this is a kavacha, what you find in the yellow color. It's a golden kavacha that is once in a way attuned to this Ekambareswa Linga, which shows Ekambareswa Linga and Parvati hugging to it. And this is what you see inside the sanctum of Ekambareswa, the Prithvi Lingam and the Kalyana Kolam behind that. And that's the beautiful Moolasthana of Ekambareswa. When you see this Ekambareswa temple from outside, you see the beautiful Rajagopuram, almost 11 tiers high, and two beautiful mantapams right in front. First, you have the Padinarikala Mantapam, and second, you have Nalikal Mantapam. And very intricately designed mantapams are there inside this temple. As you go in, you'll see that. This entire temple is such a big complex, a very vast complex. And this Rajagopuram of this temple was built by Sri Krishna Deva Raya in the 17th century. The huge temple complex has got 4 gopurams on all the 4 sides, and you have many shrines in front of them, inside them, accommodating. A very huge temple complex indeed. There are plenty of Nandavanas, plenty of towers, everything inside this beautiful complex of thing. And right in the east, you have the beautiful Mantapa in which a Nandi made of stucco is there. This is the most beautiful Nandi that you can see made of stucco there, facing east. But the entrance, though the Nandi is facing, is on the eastern side facing the Ishvara, the entrance, main entrance to the temple is only through the south gate and not through the east gate. As you enter, this is how you will see the temple. You always enter the temple only through the south gate, and the eastern entrance is always closed. So as you see here, you come there inside the temple, you'll find a huge mantapa there. And also, this accommodates a temple here. This is a separate temple inside, right, facing the Ekambareswa side. And this is also one of the Padal Petrasthalams, which is known as Chumayanam. Upper Sevarams are there about this great Chumayanam. So this is also one of the great Padalpetra Sthalams, which is a separate temple and a separate identity by itself. And this is how you see the Ekambareswa temple, so beautiful. And this is the Tiruka Chumayanam temple. And this is the sanctum of the Tiruka Chumayanam temple. By the side of this mandapam, you have the beautiful Pushkarini there. And as you enter this beautiful temple, you have wonderful towers all around and high, very intricately carved pillars and corridors all over. So this is the main entrance to the temple. After the Nandi, you see the Dvajastambam, Balipitam, everything, and very intricately done 17th century Nayak period work of this great mandapam leading into the sanctum of Ekambareswa. Look at the beautiful ornate pillars of Yali. And through this, you enter to the shrine of Ekambareswa right in the behind. The corridors of Ekambareswa, the first prakaram of Ekambareswa, is so huge and vast, very beautifully designed with beautiful pillars. And all these were constructed in the beginning of the 19th century, somewhere around 1901 or something, with the Nagaratars. And beautiful pillared mandapams, or the corridors or the prakarams, all the 4 prakarams around the sanctum are very, very beautifully done, big, wide, and vast. And on this prakarams, one side you have the 63 Nayanmars and plenty of Shivalingams representing every Kshetram. And most of these lingam belong to the Pallava period. You can see the fluted lingams there with 16 faces, 24 faces, and so on like that. And of course, different types of lingas are also seen there in this. Small and big, with Nandi, without Nandi, like that. Entire corridor of this temple is filled with lingas, Nandis, everything. And in between, on the western side, you have an Alankara Mandapam. What a beautiful pillar designed hall inside that. In that Mandapam is the beautiful Utsava Murti image of Ekambareswa, which is housed there. This is a beautiful golden image made during Pallava time. And it's one of the most rarest of all the Somaskanda Murtis that you can see in this. Unfortunately, this went into a controversy. People wanted to make another image of this and thereby siphon this out. But that was stopped by the court's order. And so many things have happened. And today, we are lucky to see back the Somaskanda of the old origin of the Pallava period still under worship. He is the Ekambarnatha Utsamurti, along with this concert. And today, since this is a very old Murti, they have put a kavacham of gold all over it so that the deterioration has been stopped to a very great extent. And the Devi concert of Ekambareswa inside this temple is known as Elavar Kudali Ammai. And she is the most beautiful Elavar Kudali Ammai. And today, this image has been made and kept from the 17th century, when the original image of Devi Bangaru Kamakshi was shifted from here to Tanjavur. This Devi has come into stay here. And in between these Edvar Kudliyambai and Ekambareswa, you have the Mavadi. The Mavadi is the place where the ancient place of great sacred importance where Devi Kamakshi made the Prithvi Lingam and she did the pujas here. That mango tree is still there, which was 4,000 years old, they said. And unfortunately, in the last tsunami, it had gone, and then a new tree has come in that place. And that's what you see here. This is the old Mavadi. This is the beautiful Mavadi, where this tree branches out with 4 branches. And the 4 branches represent the 4 Vedas. And the fruits from the 4 branches taste differently. That's the beauty of this beautiful Mavadi. And inside this Mavadi Kshetram, you have the image of Shiva and Parvati in Kalyana Kolam, and people come here and pray and offer some things so that they get married and things like that. So this is a very important place for the temple. The Ekambareswa Utsava Murti is one of the fascinating murtis in this world. He is so beautifully decorated during the Pangani Uttram festival for 16 days and brought out. It's one of the most beautiful golden murtis that we have in this country today. Look at that Ekambareswara decked with so much of jewels, very intricate and ornate jewels. And look at the different types of crowns that he is adorned. And this is Ezhavar Kuzhali Ammai, equally seen with most beautiful and precious jewels. Look at that. Look at the close-up view of the beautiful Hasta Kavachas of Ekambareswara. What rubies, what uncut diamonds, what a beautiful Kavachas that is seen there, adorned on this god. This is one of the festivals during the Pangani Uttram, which is called as Mavadi Shevai. The very unique feature to this temple of Ekambareswara, where a silver mango tree is made with 4 branches, and the mango leaves are cut and placed on that. And Devi Ezhavar Kuzhali Ammai and Ekambareswara are brought and kept inside this, under this mango tree, and the whole thing is in a silver chapram. The whole thing is a silver chapram, which is almost about 30 feet wide and so on. Something amazing, a very unusual feature of any other temple that you can see. This is the whole thing, you can see this. This is the entire thing is silver, and in that you have the Mavadi, and you can see the leaves of mango tree all over there. Ekambareswara and Ezhavar Kuzhali Ammai come through this Mavadi Seva, which is one of the important festivals of the Pangani Uttram at Ekambareswara temple. And all the 10 days, he is beautifully decorated and brought down the streets of this. This is the Nandi Vahanam. Look at the Nandi Vahanam. And this is the most famous Atikara Nandi Seva. Like Garuda Seva in Perumal temples, this Atikara Nandi Seva in Ekambareswara temple is considered to be one of the most important festivals of the great temple of Ekambareswara. The beautiful Ekambareswara and the Divine Mother Kamakshi. We have seen them. All that I would say is Karacharana Kritamba, Karmajam Kayajamba, Shravana Nayana Chamba, Manasamba Paradam, Vigitama Vigitamba, Sarvame Takshavasva, Jaya Jaya Karunabde, Sri Mahadeva Shambho. Mahadeva Shambho. The temples of Ekambareswara and Kamakshi are steeped in divinity and considered as the most sacred shrines in our temple traditions. What we saw is a glimpse of these 2 great temples. I offer my humble prayer to this divine couple. Thank you. I'm prepared to